The classroom was quiet. Too quiet. Bright blue walls shimmered with alien symbols. Hovering lights floated above every desk. Strange creatures sat on chairs shaped for their bodies. Some had wings, some had claws. One even had 4 eyes that blinked in different directions. And then there was one human. Eli Grant, the only human in the entire academy, sat in the last row. His skin, soft and pale compared to the others, made him easy to spot. He didn't speak much. He didn't smile much. He just watched and listened. This was Galaxin Academy, the greatest school in the galaxy. And Eli was a rare guest from Earth. Today's class was different. At the front of the room stood Professor Verkal, a tall, lizard-like alien with green scales and a long black coat. His yellow eyes scanned the students. His tail moved slowly behind him, like a snake ready to strike. "Today," Verkal growled, "you will take a test. No warnings. No second chances." A groan passed through the class. But no one dared to argue. Professor Verkal was feared. He had once thrown a student out literally through a window. The academy had to rebuild it. One by one, the test papers floated to each student's desk. Eli looked down at his. The writing was in Galactic Standard, the universal language. Luckily, he had studied hard. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and started writing. 40 minutes later. "Pens down," the professor ordered. He walked around, scanning answers through his tablet. His face was stone cold. Until he stopped at Eli's desk. He stared at the paper. His eyes narrowed. For a few seconds he said nothing. Then he spoke, loud enough for the whole class to hear. "Human ... You're staying with me after class." Eli froze. The entire class turned their heads. "Uh-oh," whispered a tentacle-covered student. "He's in trouble," chuckled another. Eli didn't say anything. He just nodded. After class, students left the room one by one, whispering and giggling. Eli stayed seated. The door closed with a soft clunk and locked automatically. Only Elaine and the professor remained. Professor Verkal walked slowly to the front of the room. His claws tapped against the floor. He picked up Eli's test paper and held it up. "Do you know what this is?" he asked. Eli looked confused. "My test, sir?" "No," the professor hissed. "This is impossible." Eli blinked. "I just answered the questions." "Exactly," Verkal said, stepping closer. "You answered all the questions, and every answer is correct. You solved the quantum paradox. A riddle even my species failed to solve for centuries." Eli shrugged. "I saw a pattern. I used a trick we learn in human math. It worked." The professor's tail slammed the ground. The lights flickered. "You used human math to solve an alien paradox," he shouted. Eli stood up now. His voice was calm but clear. "You asked for answers. I gave them. If that's a problem, then maybe the problem isn't me." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then, to Eli's surprise, the professor smiled. A small, toothy, terrifying smile. "You're clever," Verkal said. "Too clever for a human." He turned and tapped a button. A hidden door opened behind the classroom wall. "Come," he said. "I want to show you something." They walked into a secret lab. The room was filled with strange machines, glowing tubes, floating data spheres. And in the center, an ancient object that looked like a cube made of stars. It pulsed with light. "What is this?" Eli asked. "This is an artifact from the ancients," Verkal said. "No alien has been able to unlock it, but it reacts to humans." Eli stepped closer. The cube pulsed faster. "Touch it," the professor ordered. Eli hesitated, and then reached out. As his fingers touched the cube, the entire lab shook. Symbols lit up on the walls. The cube floated into the air and began to spin. Eli stepped back in shock. The professor's eyes widened. "It's true," he whispered. "You are the key." Eli looked at him. "Key to what?" Verkal stared at him. To something far greater than you understand. And if the council finds out, they will take you away. Eli's heart beat faster. Why? The professor leaned in close. Because some secrets are not meant for humans, but now we have no choice. Professor Verkal didn't speak for a long time after the cube lit up. The room still glowed from the strange energy of the artifact. Faint lines of alien symbols danced on the walls like fireflies. The cube hovered quietly above the table, pulsing like a heartbeat. Eli stared at it, unsure whether to be amazed or afraid. He had never seen anything like this. It felt alive. Verkal stepped forward slowly, his eyes never leaving the cube. His voice was lower now, almost careful, as if he was afraid that the room itself might hear. This object, he said, should not respond to anyone. It has been dead for centuries, cold, silent, but when you touched it, it woke up. Ilele took a step back. I didn't mean to break anything. You didn't break it, the professor said. You opened it. And that changes everything. A silence followed. Eli looked up at the professor, confused. Why would it respond to me? I'm just a student. A human student. Verkal's expression darkened. That's exactly why. Humans were never meant to be here. The council allowed your kind into this academy only because Earth finally reached faster than light travel. But we, my people, the Eldari, we've watched your species for a long time. You are chaotic, emotional, unpredictable. Thanks? Eli said dryly. The professor ignored the sarcasm. But sometimes, unpredictability opens doors the rest of us cannot. You saw a pattern on the test that my best students could not see. You solved the paradox not with logic alone, but with intuition, emotion. That is rare in this galaxy. Eli folded his arms. So what do you want from me? Verkal looked at him, not as a teacher, but as something else now, something older. More secretive. He walked over to the wall and pressed a hidden panel. The lights shifted. A screen came down from the ceiling, glowing with ancient star charts. A map filled the air, a map of the galaxy, but not one from this time. This, the professor said, is what the cube just gave us. Coordinates. A place lost to history. Eli watched the moving stars. The location blinked on the edge of the galaxy, far from any known civilization. This is where the ancients hid something, Verkal continued. Something powerful. Something they didn't want anyone to find. What is it? Eli asked, his voice barely a whisper. The professor hesitated. A weapon or a key, maybe both. The truth is, no one knows. The ancients disappeared long before my race was born. But legends say they could bend space, erase stars, and shape life itself. Eli stared at the map. And you think I can help you find it? You already have, the professor said. The cube unlocked because of you. The map appeared because of you. And if the council finds out, they'll take the artifact, erase all evidence, and silence us both. Eli's stomach turned. Then why are you telling me this? Why not just keep it a secret? Verkal looked at him carefully. Because I can't do this alone. I've studied the ancients for most of my life, but I'm missing something human. And I believe you might be the piece I need. Eli hesitated. So what do you want me to do? The professor walked back to the cube. Help me decode it. Help me follow the map, quietly, without the council knowing. And if we get caught, they'll expel you, probably imprison me. Maybe worse. Eli stared at the glowing cube, its quiet pulse calling to him like a whisper. He thought of his mother back on Earth. He thought of the people who had laughed when he said he wanted to join Galaxian Academy. You're just a human, they had said. They'll never treat you as equal. Maybe they were right, or maybe this was his chance to prove them wrong. All right, he said finally. I'll help you, but I want the truth. All of it. Verkal gave a slow, sharp smile. Good, because once we start this path, there is no turning back. The map flickered again. Symbols changed. A message appeared, one neither of them could read. Eli stared at the symbols. What does it say? The professor narrowed his eyes. I'm not sure, but I think it's a warning. Just then, the lights in the lab flickered again. This time harder, the screens shook. The door behind them let out a strange beep. Eli turned. Did you hear that? Verkal was already moving toward the main controls. He checked the system log. His claws froze mid-air. Someone had accessed the lab entrance just 5 minutes ago. We're being watched. The professor whispered. Eli's heart started to race. Who? I don't know, Verkal said. But if they know what we just did, we're already in danger. He shut the map, powered down the cube, and handed Eli a small data chip. Take this. It's a backup of the map. Keep it hidden. Eli took the chip, feeling the weight of it like it was a bomb. We meet again tomorrow, Verkal said quietly. Same time. But if I'm not here, run. Trust no one. Eli nodded once, then turned and slipped out of the lab. Outside. The academy halls were empty, quiet, too quiet. From the shadows someone watched him leave. Their eyes blinked once, twice, then disappeared into the dark. The next day arrived with a heavy silence. Eli barely slept the night before. His mind kept spinning, stuck between fear and wonder. The strange glowing cube, the secret map, Professor Verkal's warning, none of it made sense, yet none of it felt like a dream, and now everything had changed. He was no longer just a student at Galaxin Academy. He was part of something deeper, older, and far more dangerous. He stepped out of his dorm quietly. The hallway was dark. Too early for classes. Too late for excuses. He walked past rows of lockers shaped like metal eggs. Alien languages whispered from hollow panels. Floating security drones hummed above, scanning the halls for movement. Eli kept his head down and moved fast. In his pocket, the data chip felt like a piece of fire. Heavy. Alive. Watching when he reached the classroom, it was empty. No light, no sound, just cold air and the soft hum of the walls. The secret door to the lab was closed. He waited. 5 minutes passed. 10, 15. The professor didn't come. Eli felt his stomach tighten. Maybe something happened. Maybe Verkal had been caught. Maybe someone had reported them. He turned to leave, then stopped. Something was sitting on his desk. It was a small box, black and smooth. No marks, no buttons, no name. Slowly he opened it. Inside was a single note, written in shaky galactic standard. Find the answer where history is buried. Under the academy, the Hall of Silence. Eli stared at the words, his heart pounding louder. With each second, the Hall of Silence. He had heard of it. A forbidden place beneath the academy. Old tunnels, dead tech. No students allowed. If Verkal had left this message, it meant only one thing. He had gone down there. Alone. And now Eli had to follow. He slipped the box back into his bag and made his way to the central tower. The academy's elevator systems were guarded by retinal scanners and DNA locks. But Eli had learned something in his first week. Most tech here was built for logic, not creativity. He waited until a group of engineers passed by and timed his entry. When the scanner blinked, he slid in just before the doors closed. The elevator dropped fast. Below the classrooms, below the labs, beyond the library vaults until it stopped. At a level with no name, just a single line of alien symbols. Eli had no idea what it meant. The doors opened into darkness. The air was thick and old. Dust floated like mist. This place hadn't been touched in years. He turned on his wristlight and stepped forward. Ancient stone lined the walls, carved with unreadable writing. The floor was metal, cracked in places by time. As he walked deeper, the air grew colder. A sound echoed through the hall, not footsteps, not voices, just a low hum, like a machine breathing in its sleep. Then he saw it, a door, shaped like a hexagon. In the center was a glowing mark, the same symbol from the cube. Eli stepped closer. As he did, the symbol lit up. The door opened. Behind it was a room filled with starlight. Not real stars, but holograms, thousands of them, projected from the walls, floating in place, each one showing a memory. Images of planets, strange creatures, battles, peace treaties, inventions, and in the middle of the room was a control sphere. Eli stepped forward and touched it. The stars shifted, the ceiling changed. A deep voice spoke, though no body was attached to it. Code unlocked. Human presence confirmed. Initiating archive sequence. Eli stood frozen. The stars moved, forming a path. The room around him dimmed until only the path remained. He followed it. The hologram showed scenes from the past, scenes no one on Earth had ever seen. A planet exploding. A race of beings with light for skin. A great war that tore a galaxy in half. And then, a group of beings building something together, a machine. A cube. It was the same cube Eli had touched. Then came the final vision. A group of ancient beings placing the cube inside a capsule. They spoke, their language unknown, but one word kept repeating, again and again: humanity. The path ended. The control sphere dimmed. Eli stood in the silence of the room, his mind racing. The ancients knew about humans long before Earth had space travel. Long before Earth was even part of the galaxy's politics. The ancients had already seen them, prepared for them, maybe even created something for them. But why? He turned to leave, but the door behind him was no longer open. It had sealed shut. A voice echoed again, this time low and urgent. Warning. Unauthorized energy detected. Purge. Protocol beginning. Eli ran to the control sphere and hit the surface. Nothing happened. A sound echoed through the walls, a mechanical hiss, followed by a soft roar. Something was waking up in the dark, trapped in the tomb of forgotten knowledge, surrounded by ghosts of the past. Eli had no choice but to face whatever was coming. Somewhere far above, Professor Verkal was missing, and somewhere deeper still, an ancient weapon was waiting to be found. The stars had started whispering. Asterisk. The hallway trembled again. Eli stumbled back as lights on the wall flickered violently. That same low hiss returned, like metal scraping against metal, echoing from somewhere deep inside the stone. A pale red glow spread across the room, painting the ancient holograms in bloodlight. He looked at the sealed door, locked, no keypad, no panel, nothing to open it. The room wasn't just ancient, it was a trap. Purge protocol, Eli muttered under his breath. Whatever that means, it can't be good. He took out the chip Professor Verkal gave him, slid it into the scanner on his wristpad, and brought up the backup map. It blinked twice, then displayed a new route, a second exit far deeper in the structure beneath him. But to get there, he had to find a way down. He turned, searching the walls, when he spotted a strange round stone in the floor. Unlike the others, this one had grooves shaped like fingers. He knelt down, placed his hand into the grooves, and pressed. The ground shook. A circular platform dropped downward, revealing a hidden spiral staircase, narrow and steep. Cold air rushed out like breath from a sleeping beast. Eli had no choice. He went down. Step by step, he descended into darkness. As he reached the lower level, the noise behind him stopped. The humming, the grinding metal. It all just vanished, but the silence that replaced it was worse. He entered a narrow tunnel with walls of black glass. Strange symbols glowed faintly beneath the surface, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. It wasn't just technology, it was alive somehow, watching. He walked carefully, every step echoing behind him. Then, Suddenly voices. He froze. Not alien voices. Not machine noise, real voices. He stepped behind a pillar and listened. "I told you he was seen entering the lower level," said a sharp voice, cold and mechanical. Another replied, deeper, rougher. "Alone? Without the professor?" "Yes, the professor is missing. Likely taken care of by now." Eli's breath caught in his throat. Taken care of? He leaned around the pillar and saw two figures standing by a console. One was a four-armed alien student from his class rector, known for his strength and arrogance. The other was someone he didn't recognize, tall, dressed in black armor, face hidden beneath a visor, a council agent. "I warned them," the agent said. "Humans do not belong here. They bring questions." "And now he's unlocked the cube," Rector growled. "He's smarter than we thought." "Then we deal with him," the agent said, silently. "The council doesn't need a public scandal. And the artifact must not reach human hands." Eli stepped back in horror. The professor was gone. The council was involved, and someone from his own class had betrayed him. His legs moved before his mind did. He turned and ran back through the tunnel, boots slapping against the floor. Behind him, alarms screamed to life. Human presence detected. Termination protocol active. Red lights flooded the hallway. Eli raced through, dodging laser beams that shot from the walls. One nearly grazed his shoulder. He jumped over a broken panel and slid into a side corridor, just as a thick steel wall slammed down behind him. His wrist pad buzzed. New signal detected. Location: Deep Archive, Storage Chamber 3. He tapped it. A small map appeared, showing a room nearby and a weak life sign inside. The professor, without thinking, Ellie followed the path. He arrived at a door jammed half open. Forcing it wider, he slipped inside. There, lying on the ground, injured and unconscious, was Professor Verkel. Eli ran to him. "Professor, wake up." Verkel's eyes fluttered open. Blood dark and thick stained his robes. You found it," he croaked. "They tried to kill you," Eli said. "I knew. Someone was watching. But not who," he coughed. "Listen, you must continue. The map is real. It leads to the vault." "Vault?" "A place where the ancients stored their last creation, their legacy. Something not meant to fall into alien hands." Eli nodded. "We need to get you out of here." "No time," Verkel said. "They will find you. There is a ship hidden in Dock 7. My access key." He handed Eli a small disk. "Use it. Go. I'll stall them." "I'm not leaving you. You must." The professor barked, fire returning to his eyes. "You are the key now. You think like a human. You feel like a human. That's what they fear. Because you're not like them. You don't follow rules, you challenge them." The ground shook again. More doors opened. Voices shouted. They had found him. Eli stood up, grabbed the key, and turned to go. "I'll come back," he promised. Verkel nodded once, weakly. "Make it matter." Eli ran. He didn't look back. He reached the emergency tunnel, slid through the collapsing floor, and emerged near the academy's outer edge. Dock 7 was guarded, but the key worked. The ship was small and old student research vessel, but fast. He jumped into the seat, slammed the panel, and blasted into space. Behind him, alarms screamed through the academy. But ahead of him was the unknown. A star map glowed on the ship's console. Coordinates from the cube, now fully decoded. They pointed to the edge of the galaxy, a place lost in time. Eli knew one thing now. He couldn't trust anyone, not his classmates. Not the council, maybe not even the academy itself. But he still had the key. He still had the map, and he was still human. That had to be enough. Asterisk, the stars looked different when you were running. Eli had stared at space through windows his whole life. Inside the academy, stars were peaceful things, shiny points of beauty on dark backgrounds. They were quiet, gentle, far away, but now flying through them, everything felt different. They looked sharper, colder. Watching the small research ship trembled as it jumped into hyperspeed. The engines weren't made for long travel, but Eli didn't care. He had to get away from the council, away from Rector, away from the truth he wasn't ready for, but couldn't avoid anymore. He sat alone in the cockpit, gripping the steering handles with shaking hands. The data ship glowed on the panel beside him. Professor Verkel's key had unlocked the hidden route, and the map was showing him the way forward. It pulsed with a soft blue light, leading toward a star system marked in red, an uncharted world. Near the edge of the galaxy, a message blinked on the screen. Destination, Epsilon X23, planet unknown. Warning, no records available. Perfect. Eli leaned back in the chair, trying to calm his mind, but his thoughts were spinning too fast. Verkel was gone, or worse. The Academy thought Eli was a threat. The Council wanted him silenced. His own classmate had betrayed him. And now he was following an ancient alien map to a dead planet where a forgotten race had hidden something powerful enough to shake the galaxy. He was 17. He hadn't even finished his third term, but something inside him felt strangely calm. This was what he had been waiting for. Not the lectures, not the labs. This. The real story, the real history. And he was part of it. Several hours later, the ship dropped out of hyperspeed with a jolt. The system ahead was dark, no suns, just a dim blue light from a dying star. In the distance floated a planet, barely visible, covered in thick clouds and strange electrical storms. The map blinked again. This was it. Eli tightened his seatbelt. The ship entered the planet's atmosphere, shaking violently as the winds pushed against it. Red lightning cracked across the sky. The clouds were thick, churning like smoke. The auto-landing system beeped nervously, then shut down. He was on his own. The ship dropped fast, diving through clouds, until the landscape came into view, a world of shattered stone and ancient ruins. Craters filled the surface. Sharp cliffs cut across the land like broken bones. But deep in the center of a mountain valley, something strange stood out, a perfect circle carved into the earth, glowing faintly. The vault. Eli guided the ship toward it. The landing was rough. The ground shook as the ship touched down, sending dust into the air. He grabbed his jacket, checked his oxygen levels, took the data ship, and stepped outside. The air was cold, heavy, not poisonous, but not friendly either. The ruins were massive, old beyond imagination. Strange alien writing covered the stone. The symbols on the walls matched those from the cube. He was in the right place, but he wasn't alone. As he approached the vault, his wristpad beeped. Life form detected. Distance, 73 meters. Eli froze. Who? He whispered. No reply. No visual. Just that number getting smaller, 72 meters. He ducked behind a broken wall and waited. Then he saw it. A machine, but not like anything from the Academy. It was tall and spider-like, made of black metal, moving slowly across the ground. Its head turned left and right, scanning with red eyes, a guardian. Left behind to protect the vault. The wristpad buzzed again. Species classification, unknown. Risk level, critical. Eli stayed low. His mind raced. The map showed an entry point beneath the vault, a hidden tunnel. But to reach it, he had to get past the machine. He pulled out a decoy orb from his bag, something he had built for a class project. Simple distraction tech. Never tested, he whispered. Let's hope Earth science beats alien tech. He threw it far to the right. The orb lit up and buzzed loudly. The machine turned, eyes flashing, and walked toward the noise. Eli sprinted the other way. The entrance was narrow, half buried under stone. He crawled through, scraping his hands and knees on metal and rock, until he dropped into a tunnel below the surface. The air here was warmer, humming, alive. He followed the lights in the walls, each step echoing through the silence. Then he reached the door. A circle of light hovered above it. Waiting. Eli took the cube from his bag and held it up. The door scanned it. A deep voice echoed. Human recognized. Entry permitted. The vault opened. Inside was a chamber so large it seemed to have its own sky. Stars moved across the ceiling. Floating above the center of the room was a machine like a heart made of light and metal. Around it floated 6 rings, spinning slowly. A console lit up as Eli stepped closer. He placed the cube into its socket, and suddenly the room exploded with data images, symbols, maps, voices. The ancients had left a message, not for aliens, not for the council, for Earth, humanity. Eli's voice cracked in the silence. They knew we were coming. Behind him, a shadow moved in the tunnel. Someone had followed. Eli stood alone beneath a sky that wasn't real. Above him, stars spun slowly, projected on a ceiling so high and endless, it made him feel like he was floating through space itself. The air in the vault was thick with energy. It buzzed softly against his skin, like static before a storm. The cube sat in its socket, glowing steady blue. The heart-shaped machine above him hummed louder, and the 6 floating rings began to spin faster. Symbols lit up across the floor, forming a path around him. Every step he had taken from the academy to this distant, storm-covered world had led to this moment. He didn't know exactly what the machine was, but he could feel it. It was alive. And it was waiting. Eli stepped forward. The console flared to life, displaying a new screen. It showed a message in glowing letters, slowly forming words in Galactic Standard. Initiate final code sequence. His hands trembled. He tapped yes. The room went dark. Then a voice, soft, layered, not one voice, but hundreds woven into one, spoke from the shadows. Human. Do you know what you are? Eli spun around, but there was no one there. Just the voice. I'm just a student, he replied, from Earth. The voice continued, calm and deep, like thunder whispering. You are more than that. Your kind was seen, watched, predicted. You are not the first, but you may be the last. Lights rose from the floor, forming shapes. Ghostly figures floated in a circle around him, images of the ancients. Tall, thin, glowing with light under their skin, their faces gentle and unreadable. They moved without sound, like memories playing in the air. The voice spoke again. When our time ended, we looked across time and space. We saw a world, small and noisy, still learning to walk. We saw fire in your hearts, not just rage, but love, sorrow, hope, emotion, pure and untamed. What you call weakness is your greatest power. Eli's chest tightened. They had seen Earth. They had chosen Earth. He stepped closer to the spinning rings. A panel appeared beneath his feet, metal, cracked, but still working. A new message blinked. To complete the final code, memory must be given. Truth must be faced. Trial must be endured. He whispered, "What kind of trial?" The rings stopped. Spinning. Suddenly, a beam of light shot from the ceiling, surrounding him in a glowing cylinder. His body locked in place. Not with pain, but with memory. He saw Earth. He saw fire. He saw war. The machine was showing him his own world. Bombs falling. Forests burning. Children crying. Rivers of metal. Skies of smoke. Human history without filters. The worst of it. The blood and betrayal. The endless hunger for power. But then, the light shifted. He saw something else. A mother wrapping her child in a blanket. Group of strangers lifting rubble off a trapped man. A girl planting a tree in a broken field. People dancing in the rain. People grieving together. People choosing kindness, even when they didn't have to. He couldn't look away. Tears rolled down his cheeks. He understood now. The ancients hadn't chosen humans for strength, not for speed or science. They chose humans because, in the middle of chaos, humans felt. Even when it hurt. Even when it was easier to be cold, they stayed warm. The machine's voice returned. Softer this time. To hold power without heart is death. To hold it with heart is hope. The light faded. Eli dropped to his knees, breathless. His mind a storm of images, his body shaking, and then the cube glowed brighter than ever before. The floating rings spun again, this time faster, forming a glowing sphere above him. The machine in the center expanded, showing new shapes, tools, technology, weapons, knowledge stored beyond imagination. And in the middle of it all, a single item hovered in silence. A stone, smooth, small, shining like a star. Eli reached for it. As his hand touched the surface, the entire vault responded. Walls shifted, floors shook. The console displayed new text. Code accepted. Key chosen. Weapon unlocked. But it didn't feel like a weapon. Not one meant for destruction. It felt like a decision. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the far side of the chamber. A figure stepped out of the smoke, holding a pulse rifle. RKTAR. His eyes were cold. His smile was cruel. So, he said, you made it here after all. Eli stood, holding the stone in his hand. Rector raised the rifle. Give it to me, now. No. It's not yours, human. You're right, Eli said. It's not mine. It's not yours either. It belongs to all of us. It's a message. A test, not a toy for war, Rector snarled. You don't understand what you're holding. No, Eli said. You don't. A blast echoed through the chamber as Rector fired, but the weapon never hit. The stone in Eli's hand glowed white-hot and the beam stopped midair. Frozen like a photograph, Rector's face twisted in fear. Eli raised his voice, calm, but clear. This is not a weapon of death. It's a weapon of choice. And I choose to protect. The machine responded. A pulse of energy exploded outward. Not with heat but with silence. Rector was knocked back. Unconscious. The vault doors sealed again. The ancient's voice returned one last time. You have passed the final code. The choice is yours now, human. Use it well. And just like that, it was over, but everything had changed. Eli stood alone, holding something the galaxy had long forgotten. Not just power. Responsibility. And far above, beyond the clouds, the council was waiting. The stars were silent as Eli returned. The small ship, old and cracked, slid back into orbit around Galaxin Academy. His hands were steady on the controls now, but his heart pounded with every breath. He carried no army. He carried no fleet. But in his hand was something far more dangerous, a memory. A message. A power so old and so alive that entire civilizations had died just trying to find it. Now it belonged to him, and he would not let it be buried again. Below, the Academy was already on high alert. Ships hovered like insects around the station. Lights blinked on every tower. Alarms echoed faintly in the background, even from space. They knew he was coming. Eli opened the channel. This is Eli Grant, he said clearly. I'm returning. With something the ancients left for humanity. I request immediate audience with the council. There was a long silence. Then, a cold voice responded. Docket Bay 9, do not leave the ship. Any attempt to resist will be treated as threat. Alili. Shut off the comm. He looked down at the glowing stone in his palm, the same one that had stopped the weapon, that had chosen him. Its light pulsed calmly, as if it trusted him more than he trusted himself. Let's finish this, he whispered. The ship landed with a heavy thud. Armed guards surrounded the platform the moment he stepped out. Dozens of alien soldiers tall, silent, eyes filled with suspicion. Behind them stood council agents in black uniforms, faces hidden by visors, watching him like a virus that had escaped quarantine. One step forward. Give us the artifact. Eli held the stone tightly. No. Human, you are standing on council grounds. Surrender it now or face the consequences. I didn't come to fight, Eli said. I came to show you the truth. You're outnumbered. Maybe, he said, lifting the stone slowly. But I'm not alone. A sharp hum filled the air. The artifact activated again. Just a soft glow, a breath of energy. The wind changed. The platform beneath them shifted slightly. And for a second, just 1 second, all weapons froze. Not by force, but by command by something far older than Council Tech. Eli took a step forward. I've seen what this galaxy forgot. I've walked through ruins you locked away. I've faced machines that guarded the past. The ancients left a message. Not just technology. Not just knowledge, but a choice. The guards watched him warily. Some lowered their weapons slightly. Not fear, curiosity. The ancients didn't pick a species for war. They didn't choose the strongest or the fastest. They chose humanity. Because we feel, we love, we remember. We destroy, yes, but we also rebuild. We create music and art and language and stories. We hold pain, but still choose kindness. A murmur moved through the crowd. One council agent stepped forward. You say this is a message. Then why you? Why now? Eli turned the stone toward them. Because no one else listened. The stone released another pulse. Suddenly, a projection lit up the platform. Not a weapon, an archive. Images of Earth, of its history, its chaos, its heart. The same visions Eli had seen in the vault. Children playing. Wars burning, hope rising. People hugging, singing, crying. Every feeling, every moment. Alive in the air around them. And then images of other species, other planets, all connected by thin lines of light, like veins of a living thing. A network of memory, a galaxy built not on power, but unity. The stone projected one last symbol, a circle with 6 stars. The mark of the ancients. Eli looked at the council. This was never about control, it was about trust. And you tried to hide it. The High Council chairperson stepped forward. An old alien, eyes glowing softly with wisdom and fear. He stared at Eli long and deep. You speak like a diplomat. I'm still a student, Eli said, but maybe that's what makes me dangerous. The chairperson raised a hand. The guard stood down. The platform went quiet. Then, slowly, the alien bowed his head. Perhaps we were wrong, he said. Perhaps it is not humanity that must prove itself to us, but us to humanity. Allez. Exhaled. The stone's light dimmed slightly, as if resting. Later that night, a message was sent across the stars. Not a warning, not a threat. A story about a human who walked into a forgotten vault, passed a test no machine could understand, and returned not with fire but with truth. Galaxian Academy lifted its ban on Earth. New students were invited. A classroom once cold with silence now echoed with laughter and debate, with voices from different worlds learning together. And Professor Verkel, he survived. He returned with scars, but also with pride. In his first lecture back, he looked directly at Eli sitting in the front row and smiled. Maybe, he said, humans do belong here after all. The room clapped. But Eli only smiled quietly, holding the memory close. The galaxy would never be the same. Not because of a war, but because one human chose something better.